The great crystal chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with light, sound, and tension. Thousands of alien leaders sat in their curved seats, each one representing a world, a fleet, or an empire. The air shimmered with holographic displays. Showing war fronts across the galaxy, the Zarnath diplomat stood in the center. His tall, thin frame was shaking. His silver skin had gone pale, and his wide black eyes darted from one council member to another. He was not a weak man by nature. He had survived political battles, assassination attempts, and even the harsh winters of Zarnath Prime. But this was different. When he spoke, his voice cracked. "We can't win. Humans are gods of war." The chamber went silent for a heartbeat. Then the noise came back. Laughter, disbelief, whispers, and the tapping of claws and fingers on the polished desk panels. A red-scaled counselor from the Dragon Union leaned forward, his sharp teeth flashing in a grin. "Your people lose one battle, and now you bring us ghost stories," he said. His voice was dripping with mockery. The diplomat's hands clenched into trembling fists. He looked up at the ceiling, as if searching for the right words. He didn't want to remember, but the images burned in his mind. "I was there," he said. His voice was low now, almost a whisper. But the sound carried through the chamber. The laughter quieted. "I saw them fight. I saw how they moved. How they killed." He told them about the jungle moon of Thorvel, a place the Zarnath had chosen for their base. It was a world of thick, wet air, with forests so dense even sunlight had trouble breaking through. The Zarnath army had been confident. Their armor was strong, their weapons advanced, their numbers overwhelming. Humans had no chance. Or so they thought. The first sign of danger came without warning. A patrol of 20 Zarnath soldiers vanished. No signs of a fight, no bodies. Just silence. The second patrol went to investigate. They found nothing but the helmet of one soldier hanging from a branch inside it. A single human bullet. The diplomat's voice began to shake as he spoke. He described how the humans didn't fight like any alien army. They didn't march in lines. They didn't roar before battle. They were shadows, moving through the mist, striking once and then disappearing by the time the Zarnath realized what was happening. They had already lost a third of their troops. They used the jungle like it was part of them. The diplomat said, "We couldn't see them, but they could see us. Every leaf, every shadow could hide death." He remembered the night the humans attacked during a storm. Rain pounded the ground. Thunder shook the sky, and lightning flashed. Each flash showed human soldiers moving closer, their eyes cold, their faces painted with strange patterns. The Zarnath fired blindly into the trees, but the humans were already gone in one brutal hour. The humans destroyed the main supply camp. Ammunition exploded in the rain, food stores burned, and communications went dead. The diplomat had hidden behind a fallen tree, watching in horror as one human soldier took down an entire squad with nothing but a knife. No fear, no hesitation, just deadly precision. Back in the council chamber, some leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The images in their minds were hard to ignore, but still, a voice from the Carthon Dominion called out. "They are only one species. Outnumber them, and they will fall." The diplomat's head snapped up. "No," he said. "That's what we thought too." He explained how the humans never fought head-on unless they chose to. They attacked where the enemy was weak. They learned, adapted, and turned every mistake into a trap. They didn't just want to win battles, they wanted to break the will. To fight, and they succeeded, he said. His voice had grown steady now, strong with conviction. Entire companies surrendered without firing a shot. They feared the night. They feared the silence. They feared the humans. He stepped closer to the council's high platform. His gaze swept across the leaders. "You think you know war, because you fought each other, but humans are something else." The chamber was quiet now. No more laughter, no more whispers. Just the sound of the diplomat's voice and the faint hum of the holographic projectors. They don't fight for territory alone, he said. They fight for survival, and when they do, there is no force in the galaxy that can stop them. A shadow passed over the chamber as a massive hologram lit up the walls. It was a war report from the front lines, images of human ships tearing through fleets 3 times their size, soldiers moving in perfect coordination, planets falling in days instead of months. The diplomat pointed at the hologram. This is not war as you know it. This is extinction, and if you do not act now, your empires will follow mine into the grave. No one spoke for a long moment. The counselors looked at one another, fear slowly replacing arrogance. The diplomat's final words cut through the heavy silence. You cannot win. Because humans are gods of war. The rain fell hard over the thick jungle of Theravel, drumming on the leaves and turning the ground into a slick, muddy mess. The alien soldiers of the Zarnith Empire marched through the dense undergrowth, their heavy armor clanking and leaving deep footprints in the wet earth. Their confidence was high, their numbers strong, and their weapons more advanced than anything the galaxy had seen. They believed this battle would be simple, just another quick conquest to expand their empire. But the jungle held secrets they had never faced before. The thick fog curled around the trees like ghostly fingers, making it hard to see even a few. Steps ahead, the soldiers scanned the shadows nervously, their sensors picking up nothing unusual. But deep inside, something moved silently, watching, waiting, calculating. The humans were everywhere and nowhere, all at once, shadows blending with the mist, their eyes sharp and alert, ready to strike at the perfect moment. Suddenly, the first patrol stopped in its tracks. One soldier raised a hand to signal silence. The next moment, a sudden burst of energy shattered the quiet. A soldier fell to the ground, clutching his side, a strange green light burning through his armor. The others fired blindly in the direction, but there was nothing to see, no enemy in sight. Just the eerie silence that returned like a wave. The humans fought like predators, not like soldiers. They did not charge or shout or show themselves. Instead, they used the jungle to their advantage, setting traps that snapped shut without warning, firing hidden weapons from above, and moving so fast it seemed they disappeared and reappeared elsewhere. The Zarnith had never seen fighting like this, and it terrified them. The diplomat remembered the moment he saw the human commander for the first time, tall and calm in the pouring rain, his uniform soaked but his face steady. His eyes held a cold fire that did not flicker, even as bullets whizzed past. The commander did not hide or run. He stood in the open, leading his soldiers with quiet confidence. Moving like a shadow with purpose and skill, the battle stretched on for hours, but it felt like days to the Zarnith. Each lost soldier was another blow to their pride and hope. The jungle seemed alive with human whispers and footsteps. Always close, but never caught. Their traps were everywhere, spiked pits, hidden nets, poisonous darts, and strange devices that emitted loud, disorienting sounds. The Zarnith were confused and exhausted, unsure if they were fighting a war or a nightmare. At night, the humans became even more dangerous, moving silently between campfires, cutting ropes, stealing weapons, and disappearing before the alarm could sound. The diplomat watched from a hidden vantage point as a small human team crept into the heart of a Zarnith base, disabling security systems and taking out guards without a single sound. It was as if they were ghosts, able to walk unseen and strike without warning. The diplomat's fear grew with every report from the front lines, stories of entire units wiped out without a chance to fight back, of soldiers surrendering just at the sight of a human soldier approaching. The humans did not seem to care about honor or tradition. They fought with one goal: survival and victory at any cost. One night, a heavy storm raged through the jungle, lightning flashing like knives through the sky, and thunder rolling like the roar of ancient beasts. The diplomat saw the human commander lead his soldiers through the rain, their faces painted with strange symbols that glowed faintly in the storm. They moved with purpose, crossing rivers swollen with rain and climbing cliffs that seemed impossible. During the storm, the humans launched a surprise attack on the Zarnath's main supply camp. The alien soldiers were caught off guard, scrambling to defend their food and weapons, but the humans were everywhere behind trees, in the treetops, and even underwater in the swollen rivers. Their attack was swift and brutal, setting fire to ammunition crates and destroying communication arrays. The diplomat hid in the wreckage of a fallen tower, watching in horror as one human soldier took down an elite Zarnath warrior wearing heavy armor, using only a knife and quick moves that seemed impossible to follow. The fight was silent and deadly, the human moving like water around the warrior's slow, heavy strikes, and then, with a single precise move, the human soldier ended the fight. This moment stayed in the diplomat's mind, a symbol of the humans' deadly skill and fearlessness. The alien soldiers lost hope as their supplies burned and their lines of communication fell silent. They realized they were not facing just an enemy, but a force that could change the fate of the galaxy. The diplomat knew he had to tell the council what he had seen, but even as he prepared his report, he wondered if they would believe him. The humans were unlike any enemy the galaxy had faced before, and their way of war was terrifying and unstoppable. As dawn broke over the jungle, the sounds of battle faded, but the fear remained. The Zarnath forces were broken, scattered, and defeated, and the humans were already preparing for their next move. Their reputation as gods of war was not just words. It was a warning, written in the blood and fear of every alien soldier on Theravel. The diplomat clenched his fists, knowing the council must understand the danger before it was too late. The humans were coming, and the galaxy was not ready. The diplomat's memories went deeper into the chaos of that jungle battle where fear and disbelief mixed with every moment. The humans were unlike any foe the galaxy had ever known. But it was the human commander who stood at the center of this storm. A figure of calm in the madness, the commander was tall, his body marked by scars and years of battle. But his eyes were what caught the diplomat's attention most. Cold, clear, and filled with a quiet fire, he moved with a strange grace, every step measured and sure, as if he knew the jungle and its dangers like an old friend. Unlike the alien leaders who shouted commands, this human spoke softly to his soldiers, giving simple orders that seemed to carry power beyond words. The diplomat watched as the commander led a small group through the dense trees. They moved without noise, slipping past patrols and traps alike. The humans seemed to sense the jungle's every secret, using it not just as a battlefield, but as an ally. What amazed the diplomat was not just the commander's skill, but his strange way of fighting. He did not rush or show fear, even when the aliens fired at him with their most advanced weapons. Instead, he moved like a shadow, predicting attacks and striking with a precision that seemed almost unnatural. One moment stayed burned in the diplomat's mind, when the commander faced a giant alien beast armored in heavy plates and weapons. The beast charged with a roar, crushing trees under its feet. But the human did not flee. He waited, watching the beast's movements. Then, with a sudden burst of speed, he darted beneath its legs, stabbing it in a weak spot the diplomat could not see. The beast howled and fell, stunned by the attack it never expected. The soldiers around the commander moved with the same deadly purpose, working as one. Each seemed to know their part in a dance that led the enemy to defeat. The diplomat realized this was no ordinary military force, but a living, breathing organism of war. Adapting and changing with every challenge, the humans did not rely on their weapons alone, but on their minds and instincts. They used trickery and traps to confuse and break the alien soldiers. Sometimes they would leave behind strange devices that made loud noises or lights, forcing the aliens to scatter in fear. Other times, they would disappear completely, only to strike where the enemy was weakest. The diplomats saw how the alien soldiers' confidence broke with each defeat. Their training and technology could not match the humans' unpredictable ways. They began to question their own commanders and strategies, fear spreading faster than the jungle fire at one point. The diplomat heard the commander speak quietly. To his soldiers, they think this is war, but this is only the beginning. The words were simple, but carried a weight that settled over everyone nearby. The battle continued for days. But the humans never lost their calm, even in the worst moments. When the aliens tried to surround them, Akandra led a counterattack that shattered their lines. When the supplies ran low, the humans scavenged and used every part of the jungle to survive. The diplomat noticed something else: the humans did not fight alone. They moved with a sense of unity and trust that the diplomat had never seen among alien armies. Each soldier seemed ready to give their life for the others, and the commander was the heart of this bond, guiding them with steady hands and sharp eyes. The jungle itself seemed to respond to the humans, as if they were part of it. Birds flew away at their approach. Leaves parted before their steps, and even the wind seemed to carry their whispers. The diplomat felt a cold fear that these humans were more than just warriors. They were a force of nature, wild and unstoppable. On the seventh day, the diplomat saw the true power of the human commander. When a giant alien war machine appeared on the battlefield, firing devastating blasts that tore through trees and soldiers alike, the commander did not hesitate. He signaled his squad and led a daring assault, dodging the massive weapons and climbing onto the machine itself. With a mix of strength and skill, he fought the alien pilot in a battle that seemed both brutal and elegant. The diplomat could barely believe his eyes as the human disarmed the machine and brought it crashing to the ground. The alien soldiers around watched in shock and fear, their last hope shattered before them. The human commander stood tall amidst the wreckage, his eyes scanning the battlefield, calm and fearless. He raised a hand to signal his troops forward. The humans charged with renewed strength, pushing the aliens back deeper into the jungle. The diplomat knew this battle was lost for his people. But he also understood why the humans had won. It was not just their weapons or numbers, but their will, their spirit, and the strange bond they shared with the land they fought on. He remembered the commander's words again, whispered in the storm. They think this is war, but they haven't seen war yet. Those words carried a warning and a promise, and the diplomat knew they would echo through the galaxy for years to come. As the diplomat left the battlefield, his heart heavy with fear and respect, he prepared to tell the Galactic Council the truth. Humans were not just fighters, they were gods of war, and the galaxy was about to change forever. The siege of Narok City began under a blood-red sky. The ancient walls of the alien stronghold rising like jagged stone teeth against the horizon. The Zarnith believed they were safe here, confident that their fortress could withstand anything. Massive energy shields shimmered over the city, the gates reinforced with layers of steel and plasma barriers. Inside, thousands of soldiers stood ready, convinced that the humans could never breach their defenses. The diplomat had been there when the first human scouts appeared on the outskirts. He expected them to attack directly, to throw themselves at the walls in a desperate assault. But they did not. Instead, they vanished into the surrounding hills, leaving the alien forces waiting in uneasy silence. Days passed, yet no battle came. The Zarnith commanders grew restless, convinced the humans had retreated. Then the trouble began. Supply convoys heading toward the city simply never arrived. Patrols sent to investigate failed to return, The water purification systems began. Malfunctioning without warning, communications were disrupted by strange static, as if the air itself carried interference. The humans were not storming the walls, they were cutting the city's lifelines one by one. At first, the alien generals laughed, calling these tactics cowardly. But that laughter faded as the food reserves began to shrink, the once confident. Soldiers started glancing nervously toward the gates, wondering what was lurking out there in the hills. The diplomats saw how the humans worked like hunters surrounding their prey, tightening the circle, waiting for the perfect moment. When night fell, the real terror began. Strange lights would flicker in the distance, accompanied by faint human voices carried by the wind. Sometimes, gunshots would echo in the darkness. Other times, the sound of footsteps running on the rooftops. The soldiers tried to chase the intruders, but they always vanished before being seen. The humans were everywhere and nowhere. A constant ghost in the shadows. One night, the diplomat heard an explosion in the north sector. He rushed to the walls and saw a massive food storage facility engulfed in flames. Human saboteurs had slipped inside and set it ablaze before escaping. Through tunnels the Zarnath didn't even know existed. The loss was devastating, and panic began to spread. In desperation, the alien commanders attempted to launch an offensive outside the walls, hoping to flush out the humans. But the moment the gates opened, the troops were ambushed. Traps exploded underfoot. Sniper fire rained down from unseen positions, and within minutes, the survivors were forced to retreat, leaving their dead behind. The diplomat watched as the humans slowly starved Narok City without ever launching a full assault. It was psychological warfare, the kind designed not just to defeat an enemy, but to crush their will entirely. The soldiers grew weaker. Their morale broken. Some began to desert, slipping away in the night in hopes of surviving. The final blow came when the humans cut the main power grid. Plunging the city into darkness, the shields around the walls collapsed, leaving the fortress exposed for the first time. But instead of charging in, the humans waited, letting hunger, fear, and hopelessness spread through the streets. By the end of the third week, the city's garrison surrendered without a single human soldier stepping through the gates. The diplomat stood on the wall as the gates were opened, and, for the first time, he saw the human commander up close in the daylight. He walked in calmly, his soldiers following in perfect formation. There was no cheering, no celebration, only the steady, cold discipline of a force that had done exactly what it intended. What struck the diplomat most was that the humans did not slaughter the prisoners. They fed them, treated their wounded, and sent them back to their homes with a single message. Tell your leaders how we fight. It was not mercy, it was a warning, a way to let the enemy spread the fear for them. The diplomat knew this was more dangerous than any weapon. The humans did not just win battles, they made sure their victories would echo across the galaxy. Narok City's fall would be remembered not for the destruction, but for how the defenders gave up without a final fight. That was the humans' true power, not their guns, but their ability to make an entire army lose the will to resist. As the diplomat looked over the city one last time, he realized the truth. The walls had not been broken from the outside. They had been broken from within. The humans had simply shown the defenders their own defeat before it even happened. And once an enemy believes, they are already beaten. The battle is over before it begins. That night, as the human forces prepared to move on to their next target, the diplomat could not help but wonder which fortress, which empire, which proud army would be the next to fall without a single direct fight. The humans were not just warriors, they were masters of ending wars before they even started. The great crystal chamber of the Galactic Council was alive with movement. Alien delegates speaking over one another, their voices sharp with pride and disbelief. The diplomat stood in the center again, his long shadow stretching under the bright light of the council's floating lamps. He had just finished recounting the fall of Narok City, But instead of horror, the room was filled with scoffs and mocking smiles. A hulking representative from the Vorlok Empire leaned forward, his voice a deep rumble. "One city falling means nothing. Your people grew soft. The humans would not fare so well against true warriors." His words were met with approving nods from others who had never set foot on a battlefield. The diplomat's silver skin tightened, his black eyes narrowing. "You are wrong," he said quietly. But the chamber carried his voice. "You think? This is about the Zarnath alone, but it is not. The humans have already moved beyond my world before the council could respond." The central holographic projector came to life, showing a string of red-marked planets. Each one had been a stronghold for a different empire. Each one had fallen, not in years, not in months, but in days. The names blinked in silence, worlds the council believed untouchable. A murmur spread through the chamber. Yet still, some refused to believe. A sleek, feathered envoy from the Tauroni clicked her beak. "These must be fabrications. No army moves this fast. No species can defeat fleets so large." The diplomat did not flinch. "You are seeing the reports yourselves," he said. "Human ships are small, yet they appear where they should not be. They strike, vanish, and leave your fleets burning behind them." One counselor laughed, a harsh, metallic sound. "Then we build more ships. We outnumber them 1,000 to 1. The diplomat stepped forward, his voice sharper now. "Numbers mean nothing to them. They do not meet you where you are strong. They cut where you are weak, and they do not stop until you cannot fight at all." He told them about the jungle moon, about the siege, about how the humans fought not for territory, but for total control of the fight itself. The laughter faded slightly, but still, arrogance hung heavy in the air. The council had fought wars for centuries, their pride rooted in traditions of battle. They did not understand an enemy who ignored those traditions entirely. A sudden chime rang through the chamber, the voice of the council's chief aide cutting through the noise. Incoming transmission from the frontier defense line. The delegates turned toward the wide holoscreen as it flickered to life. The image was shaky, the feed full of static, but the fear in the alien officer's eyes was clear. "This is Commander Reese's, Sector 9, the voice said, breathless. The sound broke into a burst of static, then returned, under attack. They came out of nowhere, human ships, hundreds of them, breaking formation, scattering our forces. Another burst of static, followed by the deafening sound of explosions behind the officer. The view of space lit up with fire as alien cruisers were torn apart. The image cut to black, leaving the chamber in a stunned silence. No one spoke for several seconds. The hum of the projectors seemed loud in the quiet. The diplomat's voice broke it at last. "That is what you are facing. This is not a story. This is not fear speaking. This is the reality you have refused to see." Some delegates shifted uneasily in their seats, but others leaned back, still unwilling to show concern. The Vorlok representative crossed his arms. "So what would you have us do? Surrender to these humans without a fight?" The diplomat's voice dropped lower, his words deliberate. "If you fight them as you have fought others, you will lose. If you treat them as equals, you will lose. The only way to survive is to change how you think, how you fight, and perhaps even then, it may be too late." Another chime sounded, this time from a smaller console near the head of the council. The chief aide paled. "Another report. This one?" From orbit above our own world, gasps and shouts filled the room as the holoscreen flickered again, showing a lone human battleship drifting just beyond the planet's atmosphere. It was small compared to the Council's defense fleet, but as they watched, it unleashed a single volley, destroying an entire ring of orbital defense satellites in seconds. The feed shifted to a direct transmission from the humans themselves, The image showed a human commander standing in a dimly lit room, his uniform marked with battle honors. His voice was calm, almost polite. "Leaders of the Galactic Council, we come for peace. Or surrender. You have 24 hours to choose." The image faded, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence once again. This time, no one laughed, no one spoke. The diplomat let the silence stretch before he said, "Now you understand. This is not a war you can win by waiting. This is not an enemy who will tire. They are already here. And they will not leave until you decide whether to bow to them or fall before them." Around the chamber, the arrogance had begun to drain from faces, replaced by something colder, something sharper fear. And in that fear, the diplomat knew. The humans had already won half the battle without firing another shot. The skies above the Council's homeworld were normally calm, filled with the steady movement of trade ships and patrol cruisers. But now they were alive with panic. The defense fleet scrambled into position, massive battleships shifting to block. The lone human vessel drifting just beyond the atmosphere. Every gun, every missile launcher, every shield generator was powered to full. The entire planet bracing for war from the council chamber's grand balcony. The diplomat could see the shimmer of the planet's orbital shields glowing faintly. In the sunlight, he knew the shields had withstood meteors, pirate fleets, and even supernova debris, but for the first time, he doubted they would hold. The humans had not come to bluff. They had come to show the galaxy exactly what they could do. The lone human battleship was small compared to the alien fleet surrounding it. But it moved with an unsettling calm. No defensive maneuvers, no signs of distress. It simply floated there, as if daring the council to make the first move. The alien admirals exchanged nervous glances, unsure if they were looking at bait for a trap or the entire force itself. Without warning, the human ship's engines flared, and a burst of light ripped across the sky. In seconds, the outer ring of orbital satellites 30 in total exploded into fragments. The fleet opened fire in retaliation, beams of energy and streams of plasma cutting through the void. But somehow, impossibly, the human ship slid between the shots, twisting and rolling in ways no warship its size should be able to move. The diplomat watched as the humans targeted specific points communications arrays, navigation beacons, shield, control relays crippling the planet's defenses piece by piece. They weren't trying to destroy everything, only the systems that mattered most. It was a surgical dismantling of power, and it was happening faster than anyone in the chamber could believe. Reports flooded in through the Council's comm system. Fleets on the outer edges of the system encountering similar lone human ships. Each one moving differently, each one dismantling defenses without suffering a single loss. The humans weren't here to invade all at once, they were here to show how easily they could. Panic began to spread in the chamber. Some delegates shouted to mobilize every fleet. Others argued to send peace envoys immediately. The council leader tried to bring order, but his voice was drowned out by the chaos. The diplomat stood still, watching the humans work, and understood the truth. This was not an attack. This was a demonstration. Then the message came. Every screen in the chamber went black, replaced by the face of the human commander. The same one the diplomat had seen in the jungle, and again at Narok City. His eyes were steady, his voice calm. Leaders of the Galactic Council, we do not wish for unnecessary death, but we will not hesitate if you force our hand. You have seen what we can do with a single ship. Imagine what we will do with a fleet. The image shifted to show hundreds of human warships hanging just beyond the system's edge. Each one a shadow against the stars, silent and waiting. The commander's voice returned. You have 24 hours to choose peace under our terms, or a war that will end with your worlds in ashes. When the screens went dark again, the chamber was so silent the diplomat could hear the hum of the lights above. He looked around. At the faces of the council members, the arrogance gone, replaced with a deep, unsettled fear. In orbit, the human ship ceased its attacks, drifting just outside the reach of the planet's weapons. The message was clear: they could finish this any time they wanted. The choice was no longer whether the Council could defeat the humans, but whether they wanted to risk total destruction just to try. As the hours passed, the diplomat remained on the balcony, watching the sky. He saw alien fighters patrol nervously, their movements frantic and uncoordinated. He saw the human ship turn slowly, its hull glinting in the light, as if surveying the planet like a predator studying prey. Inside the Council, arguments raged. Some still clung to the belief that the humans could be defeated with enough force. Others argued for immediate surrender. Fist-like appendages slammed on tables. Voices rose and fell, but no agreement came. The clock was ticking. The diplomat finally spoke, his voice cutting through the shouting. "Look at them," he said, pointing toward the window. "They are not hiding. They are not rushing. They are waiting because they already know the outcome." His words silenced the room for a moment. As the night fell, the human fleet at the edge of the system shifted into new formations. The sight of hundreds of warships aligning in perfect precision, sending a chill through every being who saw it. The diplomat knew that no matter what the Council decided, the galaxy had already changed, somewhere out there in the darkness. The human commander was watching, patient and unshaken. The 24 hours were passing quickly, and the diplomat had no doubt the humans would keep their word. Whatever happened next, the homeworld of the Council would never forget the day. The humans arrived and showed the galaxy what it meant to be gods of war. The Council chamber was heavy with silence, the kind that pressed against the skin like a weight. Outside, the skies of the homeworld glowed faintly with the light of orbital fires. Where the human ship had dismantled their defenses earlier, the 24-hour deadline was almost gone. Every being in the room knew it, yet no final decision had been made. Some delegates sat rigid in their seats, staring at the table in front of them. Others paced, claws clicking, tails lashing, wings twitching in frustration. Pride still held its grip on some, fear on others. The arguments had gone in circles. Calls for surrender met with defiance. Defiance met with the cold reminder of the fleet hanging just beyond the system. The diplomat stood near the center, his silver skin catching the pale glow of the Council's lights. His eyes were dark pools of memory, filled with jungles, sieges, and the cold gaze of the human commander. He had spoken many times in the past hours, but the words seemed to slide off the stubborn minds of those who refused to see reality. The Council leader, an elder whose voice had once commanded armies, stood slowly. "We have fought for centuries," he said, his voice gravel and pride. "We do not kneel to threats, even from those who think themselves gods." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the hall, but they were weak, forced. The words lacked the conviction they might have carried before the humans arrived. Before the leader could speak again, the chamber's vast windows darkened. A shadow swept across the city, not from clouds or storms, but from something moving in orbit. The diplomat turned to look and felt his breath catch. The single human battleship above the planet was gone, replaced by a wall of steel. Dozens of human ships had entered orbit silently, their massive forms blocking out the sun in shifting patches of darkness. The chamber erupted into chaos. Voices rose in panic. Some shouted to prepare the planetary defenses, others to send immediate terms of surrender. The diplomat raised his voice above the noise. "Do you still think you have time? Do you still think this is a bluff?" The Council leader's face tightened, his pride warring with the fear creeping into his eyes. "If we surrender, we lose everything," he said. The diplomat took a step closer, his voice low but sharp. "If you fight, you lose everything. And everyone At that moment, the chamber doors opened with a hiss, and every voice died. The sound of boots striking the polished floor echoed through the vast space, steady and unhurried. A single human walked in, tall, broad-shouldered. Wearing the uniform of a commander, his eyes swept the room once, not with arrogance, but with absolute certainty. The guards moved to block him, but he raised a hand. And they froze not from force, but from something in his gaze. He walked to the center of the chamber, his presence pulling every eye toward him. He stopped only a few steps away from the council leader, then looked around at the assembled delegates. "Your time is up," he said, his voice calm, almost quiet. Yet it carried to every corner of the room. "You know why I am here." The council leader straightened, his voice shaking. "Only slightly, and if we refuse." The human's expression didn't change. "Then we end this in hours, and when the dust settles. The only thing left of your fleets will be memories." No one spoke. The tension was a living thing, pressing into every mind the diplomat could hear his own pulse in his ears. The commander let the silence stretch before he spoke again. "This is not about conquest," he said. "This is about survival. We will give you peace, but you will follow our terms. Refuse, and your history ends today." One of the younger delegates, scales shimmering nervously, found the courage to ask, "And what are your terms?" The commander's gaze fixed on him. "Disarmament of your outer fleets, cooperation in our campaigns against hostile forces, and recognition of human authority in all war matters." Murmurs spread, quickly shock, anger, fear, but no one could deny the humans could enforce every word. The council leader's hands clenched. "You ask us to bow." The human stepped closer, eyes narrowing slightly. "I am offering you the chance to stand, because if you fight us, you will not stand at all." The diplomat felt the weight of the moment. He knew this was the end of the old galaxy, the end of the balance of power that had existed for centuries. He thought of the jungle, the siege, the faces of soldiers who had surrendered rather than face humans in the dark, and he knew the decision was already made. Slowly, the council leader lowered his gaze. The movement was small, but in that motion, the fate of countless worlds was sealed. "We accept," he said, his voice flat. The words spread through the chamber like a cold wind. Some delegates slumped in their seats, others stared at the floor, none daring to speak. The human commander gave a single nod. "Then we have peace," he said, but his tone made it clear peace on human terms. He turned and walked toward the chamber doors, each step echoing like the ticking of a clock, marking the death of an era. As the doors closed behind him, the diplomat remained still, the sound of the commander's voice lingering in his mind. He had warned them. He had told them what the humans were. Now the galaxy would live under their shadow, and perhaps, just perhaps, it would survive outside. The human fleet shifted in perfect unison, their steel forms gleaming in the pale light of the system's star. The gods of war had claimed their place, and there was no turning back.